Tonight on Reporting Scotland, 3 years on since Russia invaded Ukraine, refugees here worry about their future. Currently, they can only apply for another 18-month visa extension, but some say they have nothing to return to.
We have nowhere to go. Mariupol is occupied. The homes of our children are completely destroyed. We have no home.
Also in tonight's programme, a teenager wanted to carry out a mass shooting at his Edinburgh secondary school, a court's heard. Grangemouth workers protest over job losses at the oil refinery outside Scottish Labour's party conference.
40 years later, I've come back to music again.
Former Doctor Who Peter Capaldi goes back to his musical roots in the 80s as he releases a new album.
Coming up in this sport, we'll look ahead to what could be a historic Calcutta Cup clash for Scotland in the Six Nations.
Hello, I'm Sally Magnuson. Welcome to Friday's programme. It's been 3 years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Since then, nearly 30,000 Ukrainian refugees have arrived in Scotland, and soon many of them will be applying for an extension, allowing them to remain here for another 18 months. But what happens after that? Rachel Bell has been speaking to some of those who've made Aberdeen their home.
In 2022, Lydia and Anatoly's lives were changed forever when their home city of Mariupol came under Russian siege.
We had run out of water, we had no food at all, we were collecting snow. The bombings were horrible. The house had no windows, the doors were all blown with bombs, there was only the basement left.
Our food was one small potato a day.
3 years on, the couple have built a new life here in Aberdeen, with family living nearby. They'll be applying for an extension scheme to allow them to stay for another 18 months. What happens after that is unclear.
We have nowhere to go. Mariupol is occupied. The homes of our children are completely destroyed. We have no home. I am very worried about what will happen after the extension is over. All I want for my family, all Ukrainians in Scotland, to have certainty in the future.
There are concerns that lack of certainty is particularly challenging for Ukrainian students and those looking for work.
If it then isn't extended again, are they able to finish their courses? And the other one is for employers. Some employers are reluctant to give contracts, unfortunately.
More than 28,000 Ukrainians arrived here in Scotland. There are no figures to show exactly how many have since left. The Scottish Government has spent more than £300 million on supporting the refugees. The UK Government says it wants to ensure the offer of temporary sanctuary is in line with the Ukrainian Government's strong desire for the future return of its citizens. For Olha and her daughter Ina, Aberdeen is now home. Ina has settled into school here, and her mum is concerned about what a return to Ukraine could mean for the family.
We are obviously very worried. Everybody's worried. For Ina, it is definitely better to stay here. We would like to visit our family back home, but for Ina, currently there are no appropriate conditions. I'm not forgetting where I'm from, but we want to stay here if there is a chance, for the sake of our children.
As the uncertainty around Ukraine's future continues to be played out on the world stage, the feeling is mirrored back here in Scotland, with families left wondering where their futures lie. Rachel Bell, Reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
A teenager who was obsessed by murder wanted to carry out a mass shooting at his own school in Edinburgh, a court's heard. The now 17-year-old, who can't be identified because of his age, idolised the killers behind the Columbine High School massacre in the US state of Colorado in 1999. Well, Katrina Renton joins me now. What was heard in court?
Well, today the teenager pleaded guilty to a breach of the peace and a charge under the Terrorism Act at the High Court in Glasgow. The crime spanned between June 2022 and July 2023. The court heard evidence of statements made by pupils and teachers from his Edinburgh secondary school that the boy idolised the killers behind the Columbine massacre in Colorado in the United States in 1999. You'll remember 12 students and a teacher were murdered then. He repeatedly spoke about doing the same at his own secondary school, which he said would be doomsday. But a large-scale police investigation was sparked in the summer of 2023 after a social media photo of him at school in full combat gear and carrying an imitation gun caused panic among pupils and parents. Now, the teenager was immediately suspended from school. The court learned that the boy had previously been referred twice to the PREVENT programme. Now, that's a UK-wide scheme designed to stop people becoming terrorists or supporting terrorism.
What else was heard in court?
Well, the teenager was stopped by police under the Terrorism Act as he returned from holiday with his family on the 9th of July 2023. The court heard he had 65 videos of Columbine and had added music which appeared to glamorise the mass killing. And the boy is due to be sentenced next month. His defence advocate argued for him to remain on bail and said, this is a vulnerable young person. He is a transgender person. That would need to be taken into account. He was not granted bail and is expected to be sent to a secure unit for young people.
Katrina Renton, thank you very much indeed. The Labour leader Anas Sarwar says he is ready to be First Minister, and one of his first acts will be to ban mobile phones from classrooms. He was speaking on the first day of his party's conference in Glasgow, where protesters lobbied delegates over the Grangemouth oil refinery and the UK government's failure to pay compensation to WASPI women. Our political correspondent David Porter sent this report from the conference.
The brutal reality of political power. Yes, you get to make decisions, but you also end up taking the flak when people don't like what you do. WASPI women outside Labour's conference, a case in point.
Keep Grangemouth working! Keep Grangemouth working!
Unhappy too, those fighting the closure of the Grangemouth refinery, keen to make their feelings known.
Grangemouth is absolutely critical for the future of the Forth Valley area. And to watch it go and watching the redundancy notices come out, it's shocking.
It's really important that we support workers and achieve a just transition for the workers.
I'm disgusted by the Labour government. I voted for the Labour government, but what do? You vote for the lesser evil. You know, they really know the answer.
Unite is not going to give up this fight.
The UK and Scottish governments argue they're putting money into the area to soften the blow.
Please welcome the leader of the Scottish Labour Party, Anas Sarwar.
But in the conference hall, a reluctance to tackle the issue head-on. Instead, the Labour leader keen to look to the future.
Conference, I am ready to give back to the country that has given me so much. That's why today I am submitting my application to be the next First Minister of Scotland.
Anas Sarwar praised what Keir Starmer's government had done so far, but the real focus of attention is the SNP. He says their steady the ship policy is not good enough. A commitment to cut NHS waiting lists and times, and a different emphasis.
Under our plans, the money will follow the patient. And Conference, to deal with this national emergency, we will use capacity wherever it is, even if it means travelling to other parts of the country or using private sector capacity to save lives. Because be in no doubt, as First Minister, I will do whatever it takes to fix our NHS.
A promise that a Labour-run Scotland would wage its own war on waste.
That's why we will have our own Department of Government Efficiency to stop the waste, deliver value for money for you, the taxpayer.
On education, plans to help youngsters who don't want to go to university. And also this commitment.
That's why, as First Minister, I will ban mobile phones in classrooms and make schools safe, calm places for learning once again.
This was very much the Labour leader putting himself centre stage.
New hope, new thinking, new leadership, a new direction for Scotland. That's what I offer. That's what Scottish Labour will deliver. Let's go out and win that future together. Thank you.
As expected, a standing ovation from delegates, but these are not the people he has to convince. The Holyrood elections are 15 months away, but make no mistake, the campaign is already underway. David Porter, reporting Scotland, at the Labour Party conference in Glasgow.
And our political editor, Glenn Campbell, joins me now. Glenn, it's been a tremendously up and down sort of year for Scottish Labour. What was Anas Sarwar setting out to do in this speech today?
Well, I think if Anas Sarwar is to be given the chance to deliver any of the new things he's promising, he and his party, first of all, need some new momentum. They had plenty of that last summer when they took dozens of seats from the SNP and swept to power across the UK, but they've slumped in the opinion polls in the first months of Sir Keir Starmer's government, and so there was next to no mention of him today. Instead, Anas Sarwar cast himself in the role of First Minister, as if the power of assertion would in some way help elevate him from being the leader of the third party at Holyrood to the highest office in the Scottish Government. Now, incidentally, that was something that turned out OK for Alex Salmond when he tried that rhetoric almost 20 years ago. I think what Anas Sarwar was doing today was trying to make his own people and the country believe that could be what the future holds for him too.
Glenn Campbell, thank you very much. And we will, of course, be covering all the larger parties' spring conferences as they happen. The Equality and Human Rights Commission has written to NHS Fife and the Health Secretary amid the ongoing controversy about access to single-sex changing facilities. The Equality Regulator says health bodies must have an accurate understanding of how the Equality Act operates in relation to the provision of single-sex spaces. Our political correspondent Phil Sim is with me now. Can you unpack this for us, Phil?
Well, this comes off the back of that ongoing tribunal in Fife, which is considering whether a female nurse should have had to share a changing room with a transgender doctor. It sparked a broader political row about what the rules should be and whether the guidance given to organisations like health boards is clear enough. Now, the Scottish Government has been insisting all week that the guidance is crystal clear. This is the body which wrote that guidance, effectively pulling up the health board and asking for a meeting with the health secretary. They say they want to make sure that health bodies have an accurate understanding of how the Equality Act works and the government's role in ensuring that legal obligations are met. On the basis that they wrote the guidance and that they are the UK's equalities regulator, this absolutely is a significant intervention. It's not the first time the Commission has taken a part in the broader debate about gender. They intervened in the Supreme Court case, which is currently considering the very definition of a woman in law. They were arguing that the Equality Act needs to be amended and clarified. The outcome of that case, and indeed this tribunal in Fife, I think are going to be very closely watched in terms of how these equalities laws are applied in future in workplaces right across the country.
Phil Sim, thank you very much. It's reckoned that around 400 cases of lung cancer every year could be caught earlier with targeted screening. The charity Cancer Research UK is calling for a commitment to screening from the Scottish Government. Gillian Sharp reports.
Even though she gave up years ago, smoking was a big part of Rosa McPherson's history.
About 10 or 11 years old, I was smoking right up until I was 51.
Just a few years later, she was diagnosed with cancer, not lung, but uterine, caught very early, still linked, she was told, to smoking. Targeted screening, she says, is a good idea.
So I was diagnosed and given the all clear in a period of 3 weeks, which is really unheard of, but that's what early screening can do for you, or having a good relationship with your doctor. But I was told that all those years of smoking were definitely a greatly contributing factor.
Cancer Research UK now wants the Scottish Government to commit to a targeted lung cancer screening programme here.
We do know there's work going on behind the scenes to kind of build a business case and figure out how. We just want to get that commitment so we can build towards, because it's not going to be an overnight thing. You know, it's a national programme, it's going to take time, so we really want Scotland not to fall behind.
At this GP surgery in the Govan area of Glasgow, they often see cases of lung cancer diagnosed late. The practice took part in the pilot project last year and found it made a difference to patients.
We offered them a CT scan to see if we could pick up
early disease, early lung cancer, and it proved to be extremely successful. We certainly picked up patients at early stage lung cancer who were able to go on and have successful surgery with a view to actually having a cure, which is certainly not the norm for us.
If we introduced screening, we could diagnose another 4,000 to 5,000 cases at an earlier stage, and that would translate into saving over 2,000 lives over the next decade.
The Scottish Government says an expert group is looking at the pilot study's findings, informing next steps, it says, towards implementation. Gillian Sharp, reporting Scotland.
Now, Laura's here to tell us what's coming up on News at 7. What you got for us?
Yes, hi Sally. We'll hear more from the Grangemouth refinery workers who are facing redundancy. They've been outside protesting at the Labour Party conference in Glasgow earlier today. I've spoken to a young Ukrainian student who's now based in North Ayrshire who's hoping to stay in Scotland via that visa extension. She's been telling me about her fears, especially with regards to her family who are still back in Ukraine, and her own possible return to the country. And in our entertainment roundup, we have been speaking to Pop Idol runner-up Gareth Gates. 23 years since he was in Pop Idol. He's on tour in Scotland.
Years.
23, a long, long time. It makes us all feel old. That's all
does.
on the News at 7. BBC Scotland, BBC iPlayer at 7 p.m.
Thanks a lot. Lots to look forward to there. Thanks very much. Laura McGee. Now, Network Rail says the West Coast main line is closed between Carstairs and Lockerbie because of a landslip. Specialist engineers are heading to the site at Beatock to assess the damage following heavy rain in the area. It means that Avanti West Coast are unable to run train services to Glasgow and Edinburgh. Well, he's best known for his acting roles in The Thick of It, Local Hero and Doctor Who. But who knew Peter Capaldi could also sing? He's returned to his musical roots in Glasgow 40 years later with an album due for release on the indie label Last Night from Glasgow. Our arts correspondent Pauline McLean has more.
A rare nod to Peter Capaldi's passion for music. As Doctor Who, he enjoyed being the centre of attention. But the music he's come to make in the last few years is much less showy.
Sweet illusions, keep me company, sweet illusions.
And this album, Sweet Illusions, brings him back to his roots in Glasgow.
It's the first time I've seen the copy of it. It's very good. I've forgotten what's on it. Here it is. Yeah, I mean, this is, I guess, I'm just trying to write songs and just trying to see what comes out. Then inevitably, I think what I end up writing is sort of picking up where I left off 40 years ago.
That was when he and Craig Ferguson were in a punk band called the Dream Boys.
And we were in a terrible band.
No, actually, you say the band were terrible. I don't think they were terrible.
But you couldn't hear us.
No, I was at the back playing the drums, yeah.
I did it for a few years with my pals, and we did our best, but we never really broke through in any particular way, and then we all went off our different ways. So 40 years later, I've come back to music again, and so it seems apt to me that it's in Glasgow.
Ian Smith set up the label Last Night from Glasgow in 2016 to help unsigned artists get their music made and older artists get theirs reissued. For Peter Capaldi, it was the perfect fit.
I don't want to be a pop star, so it doesn't matter. If people like the record, I'm really thrilled and excited, and that's such a reward.
Pauline McLean, reporting Scotland.
I'm liking the sound.
Sounds
Don't know
great,
about you.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
I could get into that, absolutely.
Now, Calcutta Cup.
We've enjoyed it in recent years, Sally, haven't we? It's
I
been
know,
quite nice.
five of them. Yeah.
Exactly. Here's hoping that can continue this weekend. Thanks very much. Hello there. Well, Scotland are looking to make history when they take on England for the Calcutta Cup tomorrow. And if they do, they'll keep their Six Nations hopes alive. Andy Burke is at Twickenham.
Twickenham was for a long time a graveyard for Scottish hopes and dreams, but that has all changed in recent times. The Scots have not lost here since 2017. And their Calcutta Cup record under Gregor Townsend is remarkable. In his 7 matches against England as head coach, Scotland have won 5, drawn 1 and lost only 1.
Well, it was raining that day, so maybe that was a factor. We lost that day. No, look, I think they've been really tight games. We've had, apart from that day, we've had really good weather, and they've been open games. That suits our strengths. Now, at times that suits England's strengths. We know that.
England's last gasp victory over France in round 2 breathed new life into their Six Nations campaign, and after 4 straight defeats to Scotland, they're desperate to get their hands back on the Calcutta Cup.
We are not happy about our recent history against Scotland, and I guess this is our opportunity to, create a new story, create a new narrative, and what we're going to do to stop it is, hopefully we'll win.
Well, Scotland are aiming for an unprecedented 5th successive victory in the Calcutta Cup over England. History there to be made for the Scots, but in the here and now, they need that victory to keep their Six Nations title hopes alive. As for England, well, they're in exactly the same position. It's win or bust for both teams, and that all adds up to a fascinating Calcutta Cup encounter here tomorrow. Andy Burke reporting Scotland, Twickenham.
Football now, and an eventful week continues for Rangers. After being drawn against Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce in the Europa League last 16, manager Philippe Clement says he has respect for what the self-proclaimed special one has achieved, but not for his style of play. Here's their side of the draw, which was made earlier today. Advanced past the Turkish side, and it would be one of Roma or Athletic Bilbao in the quarter-final. And look at that cluster of possibilities in the semi-final. A potential rematch with Manchester United in there. Clement spoke to the media today, but refused to be drawn on questions about the potential takeover involving American football side San Francisco 49ers. One thing he was certain about, though, was Mourinho coming to Glasgow will generate plenty of headlines.
I think you guys will like that. I love that. So he's gonna give you a lot of material probably.
What do you admire about him?
Of course, somebody who won that much trophies. He won a lot of trophies in a certain style. I like even more managers with another style, but the respect is there. It's about winning. I prefer more the managers personally, the managers who go full in their attacking force and playing out of that. But incredible respect in the way he did it.
Meanwhile, Scotland's women have been trying to get their new Nations League campaign off to a good start away to Austria, but to no avail as they trail 1-0. It's interim head coach Michael McArdle's first game in charge of the national team, but they found themselves behind early after failing to clear their lines. Scotland nearly equalised, but both Emma Lawton and Kirsty Hansen were denied from close range. So not the desired performance from the visitors. Deep into added time and now. Scotland host the Netherlands at Hampden up next on Tuesday. Falkirk are looking to strengthen their position at the top of the Championship tonight when they travel to play Greenock Morton. Jonathan Sutherland is there for us this evening.
Can you believe it's been almost 6 years to the day since our live championship coverage began? Coincidentally, it all kicked off here at Capello. Coincidentally, Falkirk were also the visitors that night. Incidentally, that match finished 1-1. How will it go tonight? Well, Falkirk are top of the championship table, 2 points clear of Ayr United, 4 points clear of Livingston. Both those sides play tomorrow. They'll want to put pressure on both Ayr and Livingston by getting a win this evening. But it won't be easy against the Morton side, who are unbeaten in 11 league matches. Great momentum for Dougie Imrie's side right now, and they have their eyes very much firmly set on a playoff place. Will they get a step forward in that regard this evening? You get a very warm welcome from us on Sports Scene tonight. Join us 7:30 on BBC Scotland, on the iPlayer and online at BBC Sport.
And to boxing, and it's been a whirlwind 24 hours for Scotland-based boxer Martin Bakole, who's been drafted in as a late replacement for world champion Daniel Dubois in a huge fight in Saudi Arabia tomorrow. The Congolese fighter, who has been living near Airdrie and training with Scottish coach Billy Nelson, got the call up last night to fly to Riyadh to take on Joseph Parker for the New Zealanders' WBO interim heavyweight belt. So quite the fascinating story there, Sally. And just to bring you right up to speed, the full-time whistle has just gone in the Scotland women's game. It has finished 1-0, so defeat there.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Lewis. Let's get the weather now with Callum. And I hardly know whether to feast my eyes on the picture or in your suit?
Oh, well, it's the crocus season after all, isn't it? Beautiful vista there in Shetland, blustery and beautiful, and more scenes like that actually over the weekend, so we've got more wind and rain in the way. In fact, the wettest locations today was the Isle of Skye, but beautiful in the heavy rain. There's been in excess of 2 inches of rain there today, but if you went downwind of the hills in the Cairngorms to sunny Murray, 16.6 degrees Celsius was yours, but it didn't feel that warm because you had those strong, gusty, southerly winds that were gusting up to 73 miles per hour earlier today in South Uist and widely inland. Some gale force gusts, 50 miles per hour, Glasgow, Edinburgh, for example. So that's all been due to this area of low pressure. Its frontal zone pushing northeastwards. Behind it, though, we've got this clearer regime with a few blustery showers as the winds veer into the southwest tomorrow. A brighter, breezy day. Some showers around, mainly into the northwest especially, but there could be a few heavier ones, and then this deep low knocking on the door for Sunday. So the backwash of the system clears bodily northeastwards this evening, and then we'll have blustery southwesterly winds, some showers feeding in, particularly into the northwest where there will be heaviest, perhaps a wee bit of hail, the odd rumble of thunder, and with the flow being fairly brisk through the night, it won't be a cold night, chilliest spots in the northeast. Into tomorrow then, it's a brighter, breezier, blustery day with some sunny spells coming through, best the further east and northeast you go, but that southwesterly breeze will be fairly brisk, taking the edge off the fairly mild conditions, 9 to 12 degrees Celsius in numbers. Showers will be more focused in across the West Highlands, Wester Ross, Skye, the Western Isles. In fact, for Lochaber, they might just come in one after the other and you'll be like, Callum, where's the sunshine? Best of the sunshine will be in the northeast, where we could hit 13. Tomorrow evening, a few showers for a time in the northwest, but they'll fade, and then it's mostly dry, but it won't last long. Look at this, rain arriving on the west coast and Hebrides, the southerly wind roaring up the west coast by then too. Chilliest spots will be in the northeast, maybe down to 2 or 3 locally. Here's a big depression to our west brewing up, throwing its frontal zone across us on Sunday, so very wet, very windy. Countrywide Met Office high wind warnings in force and a heavy rain warning in the southwest, but even out with those zones, look at that. It'll be like a washout. Lots of rain piling in, those strong to gale force southerly winds, maybe touching severe gale force for the Hebrides, where later it might brighten up, but some blustery heavy showers too. Mild, but certainly tempered by all that wind and rain. Early next week, the wind's gradually coming down, a wee bit chillier from the southwest, sunny spells and some blustery showers. That's you up to date on the weather front.
Oh, hell, not much fun for the crocuses, is it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks very much indeed, Cal. And McAlpine will be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight. But until then, from everyone in the team, do enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.